Hi, welcome back to the All Scale Slot Car Den. I'm Dennis, and this is part two of my Matchbox vehicle series. And they're very important to me, and that's why I love to feature them. If you missed part one and you'd like to see it, I'm putting this all in a playlist. I figure that it's going to take, now this is the 1 to 75 series that was made from 1953 to 1969, the regular wheel series. And it's going to take quite a few videos. I'm figuring about 6 or 7 to get through it. But I'm having a lot of fun along the way exploring these vehicles, and I hope you are too. And if you're a slot car person, I'm sorry, I'm deviating off the slot cars for a little bit here. I'm intertwining, the Matchbox with my other slot car videos, but I'm putting these all in their own playlist, so they'll be easy to access if you're watching in the future, or if you're watching along and you missed the first in the series of this. It'll be in the playlist. The first part of the video, of part one, is me explaining how I came to love these and my whole history with them. And if you're not interested in that, I can understand. It's a long video, but at least go to the latter part of that video where I start really getting into the details and specifics and showing off basically most of what Matchbox put out in that series from 1 to 12. And this part 2 here is going to feature 13 to 23, these vehicles. And I think they're just as fascinating, and each one along the way is its own amazing little vehicle. And I can't wait to show these because I think you're going to love them as much as I do. And if you're a slot car person, I'm intertwining this. There's going to be other slot car videos, but at least do me a favor and do yourself a favor and fast forward this. If you could find where I'm getting into the number 19 vehicles. There's 5 of them that I think you're going to really enjoy, and something that I would love to see in slot car form, whether it be in HO scale or 1/43rd or 1/32nd or amazingly 1/24th if they have, if there's a way to do that. But that would be amazing to see these vehicles in slot car form, and that's part of the allure. Is that what I explained in the first video, is that this is what got me involved in slot cars. If not for these, I may not have had an interest in slot cars. Might have happened anyway, probably would have, but you never know. So I'll let you watch that if you're interested. And we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to go into detail about the Matchbox 1 to 75 series, as it's now called, and we're going to go through the lettering system where at the time Matchbox would put out a car and have it out for a few years. Say they started in 53, they would have it run for a few years, and through whatever way, either slumping sales or whatever, they would replace that vehicle. And they didn't have lettering at the time for it, but the first vehicle now by collectors is considered the A. And then, when that was replaced, that would be the B vehicle, and that would run for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. And then it would be replaced by the C if it got to that point by 1969. So let's just kick into it, and let's begin with the 13s. And we're going to go into detail here about number 13. And that began life in 1955 as the Bedford wreck truck. And it was 2 inches long. And you see it's tan and had a red boom. And it came with red wheels and crimped axles. And this ran from 55 to 57 as the number 13, so which is now referred to as 13A. And nice little vehicle there. And I'm going to put them here next to this box so you could see the sizes in difference. Now, they're not like HO slot cars to where they're basically 1/64th or 1/87th. This just runs the whole gamut. Matchbox cars could be very tiny. You can see this is a pretty tiny version of a car compared to other ones. They range anywhere from, say, 1/50th to 100th of a scale. Some are very tiny. So it's really a real wild cross of scale. But they're all basically, they fit into this size Matchbox car. Each car had its own little box that it came with, which, as I explained in the first video, is sometimes half the value or more of the cars, because it's called a Matchbox car, Matchbox vehicle, for a reason. Those Matchboxes have value, especially if they're in great shape. And, you know, a lot of times there's reproductions because people want to put the cars in the boxes on display. They'll put them on top of the boxes and in their display cases and really enjoy them. Some put them back in the original cases, in the original boxes, and store them. And you could do whatever you want. It's fine. I'm not really a collector of the boxes, although I do have a lot that I've built up in the years collecting these. So there is a collection of boxes that I have, but I'm not displaying anything. I just really want to talk about the vehicles here. All right, let's get into this. Okay, now in 1958, that changed to the Ford Thames Trader Wreck Truck. And that's got the Matchbox garages stickers on it. It's got the red hook, and that came with plastic, silver, gray wheels, or black plastic wheels, and it had fine or knobby wheels. And this was a nice step up from that first version of the Bedford Wreck Truck, in my opinion. But they're both fascinating, and you could see the size difference in these two. And this Ford Thames Trader Wreck Truck ran from 61 to 64. That was the C version, because the Bedford Wreck Truck, as is the case, as you see in the first video that I did, a lot of the earlier vehicles, their upgrade came as a slight size difference, and usually they got a little bigger. Like this one is 2 inches long. Then the B version, this was the A version, the B version of the Bedford Wreck Truck ran from 58 to 60, and that was 2 1/8 inches long. So it was basically the same and just a little larger, and that was the upgrade. But then it became this, and then it became, this is one of my favorite cars of all time. I think if you held me down and said, which is your favorite Matchbox car from your childhood, which would it be? I think I would pick this one. I always adored this. And this was the first truck with a hook that I think I had. And I used to love towing around my cars. A lot of these came with hooks, but I think this is the first one that I ever owned, and I used to love this. The coloring of that, I love that. If you're an A's or Packers fan, you'll love this, or Oregon Ducks. You'll love this just as much because it's got nice contrasting colors, and they did a really nice job with this. Now this is the Dodge Wreck Truck with the BP decals like that, and this was the D version of 13, so-called D version. It ran from 65 to 69. I'm not getting into the super fast era because that's where I explained that's where it kind of lost me. And but this is going to go up to the 69, the regular wheels era. Now the decals on this, it could have, okay, they had the BP decals, but it had a green cab with a yellow body or a yellow cab with a green body. It was reversed order. I don't know if that was a factory error, but that came in a reversed order. And the hook could have been red or yellow, and the dome light was made in red or yellow. And that came with the black plastic wheels. And this, my favorite, I would say my favorite truck. And that would be the 13 models, the number 13. Now, let's get into number 14. Now, this is, in 1956, Matchbox expanded to 30 models. Until then, they only had the 13. The series only ran from 1 to 13 up until 56. And then 56 and 57, they had, now this is the LMAS Ambulance. Now I don't have the A or B versions, but those are the Daimler ambulance, and they're very similar to this. I have much of what I'd like to collect. What I explained in the first video is that if there's something very similar, I'm not inclined to really go after it. I'm not really into completing everything. Maybe in the future I will. If you come back to me in 5 years, I'll say, oh, here's the Daimler ambulance, the A version and the B version. But as of now, I'm pretty happy with what I have. I may pick up a couple more here and there, but I have enough to at least display what is very similar to what I don't have. So yeah, this was it began life as the Daimler ambulance in cream, and it was 1 7/8 of an inch, and that came with or without the red cross on the roof. Okay, and that was made with metal wheels with crimped axles. And the B version, now that A version ran only 56 to 1957. And then it became the B version of that Daimler ambulance. And like most others, it expanded in size from 1 7/8 to 2 5/8. So a little over 2.5/8. I'm sorry, I'm only speaking in inches here. For those of you who use the metric system, I apologize. Now that B version ran from 58 to 61, and that was in cream or off-white, and it came with just the red cross on the roof, no option of not having it or having it. And that came with metal, gray plastic, or silver plastic wheels with crimped or rounded axles. And then from 1962, they changed that to the LMAS Ambulance. And that 62 to 67 is when that third version ran, the LMAS Ambulance. And that came in this off-white color, and it had the LCC ambulance decals on it. And another great feature, and why I love Matchbox, is that there's usually some kind of feature, whether it be a hook, there's opening doors, there's so many different things that these Matchbox vehicles did. And that's what makes them fascinating to me. And you can, when you were a kid, you could play around with them, and there's so much you could do. You could put a patient in there, or you could put a rock in there and transport it to the hospital, whatever you wanted to do, using your imagination and really enjoying it. And the details involved are really stunning and still hold up to this day, 60 years later. And yeah, so I really love this. This was another one in my childhood that made a huge impression on me and really opened up my imagination and really made me fall in love with cars of this size. And that was the 14C. And then the 14D became something completely different, the ISO Griffo. And this was a beautiful version. This ran from 68 to 69. Now, you see the pattern that Matchbox is doing, where sometimes they do a little upgrade of, their trucks, make a little bit more detail as it went along. Sometimes they do something completely different and go way off course. And this was one of the times. But this was a beautiful, beautiful ISO Griffo. And this ran 68 to 69, only those 2 years. Now, like I had mentioned in my first video, that sometimes my years may be off a little bit because Matchbox didn't, it wasn't like January 1st they changed their car. They would change their lineup throughout the year in May or September. And so, what you started off with was not the same lineup. And, different countries may have had different releases and different numbers. So generally, when I say a year, that's generally the year that these were produced and brought out by Matchbox. And the tires are black plastic tires on this ISO Griffo. And it has the opening door, which is a nice feature of the ISO Griffo. And for some reason, some sports cars and supercars had hooks to carry along the various things that they can hook along all the trailers and campers and stuff. For some reason, they put them on. But I mean, you know, they're meant to be played with and enjoyed. So I understand that. If it's something that you don't want, that you think destroys it, you can just always saw off that little hook there. But keep it the way it is because it's a fascinating car, the ISO Griffo. All right, that's the 14. Now let's get into 15. And we're going to, let's slide them all in here. We have the 15A, the so-called A now, is the Diamond Prime Mover. And this ran from 56 to 58. And this came in either yellow or orange. And it had this flat bed in the 15A. And it had metal, came in metal or gray plastic wheels. And towards the end of the 50s, Matchbox started doing away with their metal wheels because parents were complaining that the kids were tearing up their furniture with that metal, you know, so they started transitioning into the plastic wheels in gray or silver or black. So this began life as a metal wheeled car. And this was the Diamond T Prime Mover, 56 to 58. In 1959, it became the Atlantic Prime Mover, which was very similar. And that only came in orange. And that had a slightly raised bed. And it had a tire in it. So that was an interesting model. Not yet in my collection. Maybe one of these days or at some point. But for right now, it's similar to this. And that was the Atlantic Prime Mover. And that came in gray plastic or black plastic wheels with crimped or rounded axles, where this one only had the crimped axles. So that was the 15A. 15B was also the Atlantic Prime Mover. 15C is the Tipax Refuge collector. And it had the cleansing service decals or labels. The dumper had a gray hole. It was gray with the hole or no hole in the front. This version has the little peephole that you can see through there. The driver can check out what's going on in the back, and it's got this hole in the back. And this was the Tipax Refuge collector. And this came only in black plastic wheels. And this ran from 63 to 67. So it had a nice run. Had a really nice run. The Tipax collector, the cleansing service truck. Then, to round out the 15s, is the Volkswagen 1500 Saloon, number 137. And this had an interesting deal with it. It had steerable wheels. See, those wheels could steer. And so as you push it along, you can steer it and make it change directions as it went. And so pretty innovative at the time. And this was a nice little car. The Volkswagen 1500 Saloon. This only ran 68 to 69 before the transition to the Superfast series. And this came in cream or red, and it had black plastic wheels. And a nice little Volkswagen, nice car. All right, now let's slide up here to the number 16 series in the series. Now, this is the Super Atlantic trailer, and this only ran in 1956. This was the 16A, and it was 3 1/8 inch long, and it came in tan. And as you can see, it's got the separated ramps there, the 2 ramps that a car can drive up to, and it's got this ramp that can drop down or fold back up after it loaded or transported. And it's got this so it can hook on, so your ISO Griffo can carry this trailer. So this was the Super Atlantic trailer, and this came with metal wheels with crimped axles. And that was the 16A. I apologize if I haven't been putting this next to the box. I forget sometimes. Then it became in 16B, not yet in my collection, but the Super Atlantic trailer went from 3 1/8 inch to 3 1/4 inch. So again, with that trend of enlarging as we went, and that came in tan or orange. And the tow bar was tan, black, or unpainted. And it had one solid ramp. Instead of the two separated, it had one solid ramp. So it's very similar to this. And it had gray plastic or black plastic wheels. So that was the 16A and 16B. Then it became 16C, time for the Scaml Mountaineer snowplow, which was nice. A really nice little feature on this with the snowplow that was movable, although that can jam a little bit, I imagine. This was the 16C, and this had a nice little run from 63 to 68. And it had the gray cab and the orange dumper. It had red and white or orange and white plow stripes. Okay, and this came in gray plastic or black plastic wheels. So this was a nice vehicle, nice little work vehicle. And you could see when there's a dump truck, it dumps. These trucks, these Matchbox cars, they have functions. And that was the beauty and the fun of having this in your childhood, and something many adults love to have in their collections now. Brings you back to your childhood on what you played with and really spent hours and hours with and collected with your friends. So that's the huge appeal of the Matchbox cars. And now we go to the 16D. This only ran in 69 before the Superfast era, and this was the Case Bulldozer. And I have to admit, it's not really one of my favorites. I don't like the plasticky look to it. This compartment actually removes. This is plastic, and not one of my favorites, but in the collection anyway, because it is the 16D, and it is unique to Matchbox for the 53 to 69 series. And it has a removable roof, and it came in light red or medium red or dark red, and it had that yellow blade. The treads were green or black. That's the different versions. And if I had not mentioned that some Matchbox cars in some different versions, different variations, are very rare and very valuable and very well sought after by collectors. And so that's something to look out for. I don't like to get into the rarity or anything like that, because somebody might turn up with, 500,000 of these at some point or whatever, and that really decreases the rarity and the collectability of them. So I'm not getting into that. This is just purely viewing them, enjoying them, collecting them, and just having fun with them. All right, so that's the 16s. Now let's get to the 17s. Let's wheel them all in, and these were all over the map. So let's start off with the 17A, and this was the Bedford Matchbox removal service van, and this ran from 56 to 57. And beautiful colors on this, nice stickers, nice decals. And this came with, this came without a number on the base. And it came in maroon or blue or green. And it came with metal wheels with crimped axles. And this was a very nice van. Bedford Matchbox removal service van. Okay, and that was the A. The B version was also the same van. It ran from 58 to 59, but it came with the number on the base. And it came in light green or dark green with metal, or as it transitioned to the gray plastic wheels, it had crimped and then later rounded axles. So that was the A, and then the B version. And in 1960, they did a little turnabout and went to the Austin Metropolitan taxi. Very nice taxi. And you could see with the open door there to let in the passenger, I guess. And it had the interior and the base was light gray or dark gray, and it had silver plastic wheels only in the dark gray. Otherwise, it had gray plastic or silver plastic wheels. And this very stunning, stunning car. And that was the Austin Metropolitan Taxi, ran from 60 to 62. And that was 17C. Now the 17D was the Hoveringham tipper. And this ran from 63 to 68. Had only black plastic wheels, and you can see it had huge bed dumps. And that releases your dump, or you could turn it around this way to contain the dump. And a lot of people probably dragged a lot of stuff in there. You can even throw a car in there, or whatever you had. It can contain a lot of things. And this was a very handy work truck to have on your site, on your Matchbox site. And so this was a really fascinating vehicle. And the bed is orange, and the base plate was either red or black on these. And it came with the black plastic wheels, like I mentioned. And then there was another change to the 17. In 1969, it was the horse box. And it has this operating ramp. And a nice horse box. Only ran for that 1 year in the regular wheel series. And it was red and green with the gray ramp and black plastic wheels. And it also had a nice little feature. I'll put it next to the box there. You can see how huge that is. Takes up the entire box. And that had a nice little feature that had a couple of horses that would come out and graze, and you could stuff your horses back in there and take them to the next location and really get the most out of the truck. Have a nice time with that. And I remember having that as a kid and really enjoying that. Now let's get to the 18s. Now, all right, for 18, we have, let's get these back out of here. Now this is the Caterpillar Bulldozer. And this one was interesting because this is actually the D version of it. Now there's some subsets of Ds and all that. We're not going to get into fine details like that. But for the 18, the number 18, it began life as a Caterpillar Bulldozer, 1956 to 57. It was 1 7/8 of an inch, so almost 2 inches. It was yellow, and it had a yellow rider on it, and the blade was red, and it had metal rollers with crimped axles. Okay, that was the A version. Then the B version ran from 58 to 60, and that became just a little larger, where the A version was 1 7/8. The B became 2 inches, and it had yellow. It came in yellow, and it had the rider, the yellow rider, and the blade was yellow, and it had the metal rollers with crimped axles. And then the C version, which was still not here yet, ran from 61 to 63 of the Caterpillar Bulldozer. It went from 2 inches to 2 1/4 inches. So it is growing and growing, and it was all yellow with the yellow rider and rubber treads. And it had metal or silver plastic or black plastic rollers. And so that was the C. And then finally we get to the D, which is the Caterpillar Bulldozer, 2 3/8 of an inch. So it expanded even more, and it's big now. Very big, size of that box nearly. And this is the D version, ran from 64 to 68. So we still didn't complete. The Caterpillar Bulldozer almost ran the whole scope from 56 all the way to 68, just 1 year short of taking the number 18 by itself and running with it. But this D version had no rider in it, and it had these rubber treads, and the rollers were silver plastic or black plastic. And so This was an awesome vehicle. Must have done, and it even has a hook back there. Must have done fabulous for Matchbox for them to keep this and just keep getting it larger and larger. I don't know if they were getting feedback on the vehicles were too small, or they just decided that they're more popular ones. They're going to make them bigger and really expand, literally expand on what they had. So that's what they did there, and they just couldn't quite make it to 1969. 1969, they closed off the number 18 in the series with this field car. And like the Case Bulldozer, not my favorite. I have to admit, not my favorite. That's just my opinion. People may love this, and that's great. Everybody has their own taste, and if you loved it, that's fantastic. This only ran in the regular wheel series for 69. I'm pretty sure it continued for a long time afterwards. Now this came with, it was yellow with the tan roof, and the base was black or unpainted, and the wheels were green or red. And this has the red wheels, and you can see how the tires don't want to stay on. Now a lot of these cases, the tires, you may lose a lot of these tires because, now from what I understand, it goes against how I would think, but you would think the tires warp, like being used to slot cars, after a while the tires warp and they lose their functionality. It seems as the years go on, it's the wheels that are warping. That's my understanding. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Any of you Matchbox collectors? See, I just dropped a wheel off of there, and it's the actual wheels that are warping and not allowing the tires to stay on. So that's something to keep in mind if you're storing these, or if you have these on display. Watch out for those wheels. In a lot of cases, I'll just push them in. The tires, I should say. I'll push them in to keep them on to the axle a little bit, so this way they don't get lost in storage. But they're all stored in containers, so the tires should not get very far. So this is the field car, all right. And now let's get to number 19, the one that I said, slot car people, you're gonna love this. Here you are, if you found it here. This is from 1956 to 1957, the MG TD sports car. It's a two-seater, and it's got the spare tire. And this came in cream, like this, or white, with that tan driver in it. And you could see, like I had mentioned earlier in my first video, I'd like to collect things that are really pleasing to the eye, really enjoyable to look at. I don't like when there's a whole bunch of scars and cheap paint and everything all over the place. So this is one that I have that I'm going to eventually upgrade. Sometimes these things can get very expensive. I don't like to put a lot of money into these cars. It's very difficult because I am dealing with slot cars, and it is difficult to put money into this. But I think at some point I'd like to upgrade, because I'm not happy just looking at that or knowing that's there. But for the moment, this is in the collection, and this came with metal wheels and crimped axles. That ran from 56 to 57, and it's a tiny little car, but an enjoyable car. Then that turned into, in 1958 to 60, the 19B was the MGA sports car, and sort of got a little kind of Cobra feel to it, but a beautiful car nonetheless, and something that Matchbox collectors I'm sure love, and slot car people would be envious if you had this in a slot car, and really enjoyed this. And this car was white with the tan driver, red interior, and this came with metal or gray plastic or silver plastic wheels with crimped or rounded axles, and a very beautiful car. And that was the MGA sports car, the B version of 19. And let's get to the C. Now we're gonna have some fun. The Aston Martin DBR5 racing car, and that came in green, and the driver was either gray or white. And the car numbers that it came in were the 3, 5, 19, is this, and 41 or 52. So your Aston Martin DBR5 racing car came in those numbers. So there's a lot of variations there. And this ran from 61 to 1965, and the tires were black plastic. And this was a beautiful car, an Aston Martin DBR5. Then that became the 19D, another beautiful, beautiful car. That was the Lotus Racing Car, and this ran from 65 to 66 as the number 3 in green and yellow with the black plastic tires. Very, very nice car. Very nice car. Very beautiful, beautiful work by Matchbox. And just to imagine the age of these cars and how well they've held up over the years and how beautiful they still are is really a testament to Matchbox, the Lesney Matchbox car and company, and what they did. Beautiful, beautiful, and still so much fun to have. And in this also, this is the D version also. It came as the number 3. But instead of the green, it came in orange and yellow, and it was in a gift set, from what I understand. And it came with the black plastic tires, which you have to be careful for, and also beautiful, beautiful car. I love it in the orange in it, but it's beautiful in the green and yellow. Yeah, so that is the Aston Martin, and one of my favorites. And I'm sorry, the Lotus. Did I call that Aston Martin? There's the Aston Martin, there's the Lotus. Okay, now we'll get to the 20s. All right, let's get to the number 20s. And we are at the ERF Steak Truck, 1956 to 58. It came in maroon or dark red. And the grille and the tanks were either gold, silver, maroon, or dark red. And it had metal or gray plastic wheels with crimped axles. And a very nice steak truck, the ERF Steak Truck. And let's these aside here. And in 1958, as that ran for just a couple of years, 58 to 64, it was also an ERF truck. It was the 686, the Ever Ready for Life truck. And I love that. I really love that. Ever Ready for Life. And this came in blue, and it came with gray plastic, silver plastic, or black plastic wheels. One of my favorite trucks, just because of those stickers on them. And that was the 20B, ran to 64. In 65, the 20C turned into something very different. And that was the Chevrolet Impala Taxi. And that was in yellow or orange. And the interior was red or white. And you can see there's the white in there. There's the driver, which is fantastic, and it's got a tow hook. And it came in gray plastic or black plastic wheels. And so this is a very nice taxi. Love that taxi. Make sure if you're looking for one that it does say taxi on the front there, and that it's not worn off. That happens over time in a lot of cases. All right, now let's get to the 21 as we're starting to wrap things up. 21A was the Bedford Dupal luxury coach. Very similar to this, only this is the B version of it. This ran from 58 to 60. The A version ran from 56 to 57. This B version is 2 5/8 of an inch. The A version was 2 1/4 of an inch. So once again, it expanded as it grew. Those first 2 years, it was in light green only, and it had the London to Glasgow decals on it with the metal wheels and crimped axles. And this is one of, I'm not going to say my favorite, but I love this. The color, if you see this in person, it just is very striking, very striking. And this B version ran from 58 to 60, and this was in light green or dark green, and still had the London to Glasgow decals. The wheels were metal or gray plastic, and the axles, as they transitioned, as they did, started as crimped and then went to the rounded axles. So very, very nice vehicle. And let's get that on there. Let's show the size. Now we come to this one, the Commer Bottle Milkflow truck. And as a child, I can honestly say this was right up there with that wreck truck, with that BP truck. This was right up there because I loved this. This was right there at the top with that one. The Commer Bottle Milkflow. This ran from 61 to 67. And the interior was white or cream. And it had a cow or a milk bottle stickers on it, decals on it. And this one has the cow. And the windows were clear or green. And it came with gray plastic, silver plastic, or black plastic wheels. And very, very nice. I used to love seeing all those milk bottles in there, and just really enjoying this one. And I used to pretend he was the ice cream man, because I used to love that ice cream man when he came down the street in Brooklyn. Oh my gosh, run and get those quarters and get some ice cream, and run home, get a quarter, come back out. And that's what I would pretend, that he was the ice cream man. But you'll see later there's other ones that are more appropriate for it. And I'll get to that in a future video. Now let's get to the 21D, as it became the Fodin concrete truck. And this ran from 68 to 69. And it has a rotating barrel. It was yellow with the red chassis. And the barrel was either metal or plastic. This one is plastic. And it had black plastic wheels. And this was fascinating, is that as you rolled, it had this gearing on it to where it would spin that barrel and really mix up the concrete as it went. And this is a fascinating vehicle. I think this one's, maybe it needs some WD-40 or something in there, some oil, and get that gear going again. But that barrel spun, and that was hours and hours of fun to take on your work site, on your Matchbox work site. And very large vehicle, very large, but very unique, as most of them are. All right, now we're going to get to the 22. Almost done with this second episode. And 22 was wrong car. The 22A was the 1956 Vauxhall Cresta, the E-Series Saloon in red. And the roof was either cream or white. And it came with metal wheels. And this was the 22A. I love that. It's very, very striking, contrasting colors. And it has the tow hook. Beautiful car. And that was the Cresta. But in 1959 to 64, it was still a Vauxhall Cresta, but it was later edition, the 1958 version of that, where this is the 56. And that came in a variety of colors, light pink, gray and blue, bronze and blue, gray and pink, gold, and copper. And it came with no windows or green windows. So it did get some windows in that later edition, and that ran from 59 to 64. And that had metal or gray plastic or silver plastic or black plastic wheels, and the axles were crimped or rounded. So that ran the entire gamut of what they had available, because that lasted for those 5 years. And very similar to this, but like I mentioned, different colors. But that's very, very striking. This was the A, and the B is where it became the later edition. Then it rounded off the years. 1964, to 1969. Very, very popular must have been the Pontiac Grand Prix Sports Coupe. And this one was either red or orange is red. And it has the opening doors, which you can look in there. And very, very nice detailed interior, if you can see in there. Very, very beautiful car, beautiful coloring. And this was the Pontiac Grand Prix Sports Coupe with black plastic wheels. And of course, the tow hook. So you can tow whatever you want with it. And we're going to get into some trailers now for these as we get into the last of today's video. We're going to finish off the part 2 with the number 23. And these are the trailers, many of the trailers that Matchbox made. This one is the Berkeley Cavalier trailer, and this came without a base number, okay, because this is the B version. This ran from 58 to 59. The A version of this ran from 56 to 57, and it came without the base number, and it only was in light blue. And that had metal wheels and crimped axles. But like I had mentioned, 58 to 59 is this one with the base number. And this came in light blue, that same light blue, but also in this light lime green and metallic green, one of those three. And it had metal wheels or gray plastic wheels with crimped or rounded axles as the years went on. And it had that sticker that in a lot of cases is missing or partially missing. A lot of years have gone by, and it's amazing that there's still there's still stickers on these vehicles, but they're still there, thankfully. And that was the 23A and B. Then we got to the C version, 1960-64. It was still a trailer. It was the Bluebird Dauphine trailer. And this was in metallic green or metallic tan. And it had fine or knobby gray plastic, silver plastic, or black plastic wheels. And you can see that it's got that sticker. And it's got an opening door. And it's got some nice detail inside there. If you could see inside there, it may be too dark, but there is some detail inside there. And that is a fantastic little trailer. And yeah, with all these tow hooks, you need some trailers for your cars. And they supplied. They did not let you down. They have a lot of trailers. This one was the C version. Then the D version ran from 65 to 66, was the trailer Caravan in yellow with this white roof. Came with gray plastic or black plastic wheels. And this roof is removable, and you could see inside there. Look at all that detailing. It makes you just want to just take this out on the road and just really enjoy it. And that even comes off. And just really have a great time with it. And look inside there, and you can put things in there if you have little people or whatever that can fit, and really have a nice time. And you can tow it with any one of your cars. If you had a Ferrari with the tow hook, you can hook it up to your Ferrari and take it down across the country. And that trailer van, also the D version, also came in pink with the white roof. And same thing, only in pink. And this ran from 67 to 69 and only in black plastic wheels. So that's going to round it out. And also, again, with the removable roof, with all that nice detailing, that just makes you want to go into one of these little Matchbox cars and really use your imagination, especially a young child. It was fascinating for a lifetime. So that's going to round off episode 2. And thank you for coming by. Check out the, it's going to be in a playlist. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word. It's in the Matchbox playlist. If you want to check it out, just run through it and you'll enjoy it, hopefully. If you like this, please like it. So I know that it's got an audience. If it, I'd like to think that people are interested and people are watching. And I hope you love it. If you're looking forward to more episodes, you can subscribe. I really would appreciate that if you subscribe and hit that bell notification, which means that anytime I post a video, you'll be able to see. You'll get a notification. You can always change that back to where you don't get a notification by just, don't hit all, just hit subscribe without all. And that's one way to do it. And at least if you're a Matchbox person, you can at least do that for the length of time that it takes me to get through the 6 or 7 episodes, where this is episode 2. It'll be in a playlist. You'll get notified when I get a new video out. You can just swipe off and disregard if it's a slot car video and you're not interested, or if you're a slot car person and it's a Matchbox video you're not interested in, you can just swipe it right off. Don't even bother looking at it. But I'd really appreciate it if you came by, like, subscribe, enjoy, and get out your Matchbox vehicles and even your slot cars and just have some fun. Put your Matchbox vehicles around the track as nice scenery, because they really would do your track justice. And especially if you see some you like, the tow trucks or the campers at the track, it's amazing what you could do with scenery with the Matchbox vehicles. And I really appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, there's no charge in subscribing. There's no cost. Everything is free. And if you want, I'll give you a little tip. Sometimes I talk too much and you just want to see the cars. You could put the speed. You could change your speed in YouTube of your videos to anything you want, up to twice as fast. So what I usually do is I set my speed. I on my laptop, I can open up a tab and I dedicate that tab to YouTube, and I set the speed. The first time I watch a video in the day, I'll set the speed to 1.5. I tried double the speed at 2, but it's just too fast, and I can understand a lot of the things that are being said. I don't want to miss anything, especially from foreign accents that are thick. I just don't understand it. So I find that 1.5 speed works well for me. And that saves you a lot of time. If you're watching a few videos, it can get you a few more videos that you can squeeze in because you're watching it 1.5. So that's a good tip for you, I think, right there. Save yourself a little bit of time and enjoy. And we'll see you in episode 3. And slot car people, I'll see you in a future video that I'll be doing soon. And hopefully there's a nice crossover. Get some Matchbox people into slot cars. Get some slot car people into Matchbox, whatever the scales. And just enjoy having fun. And thank you so much for coming by and watching. Take care.